Reports. First report is from Fred Conze, Chairman of the Planning and Zoning Commission. Mr. Conze?
Good evening, everybody. I'll try to make this fairly quick as there is a big game on tonight, as many of you, I'm sure you're well aware. Seems like I spend a lot of time in this room in recent days, but it's always good to come back and address the RTM. So I'll just, without further ado, let me just swing right into this. Good evening, Madam Moderator, members of the RTM and other elected and appointed officials, and the people of Darien. I am pleased to give you this annual State of the Town address, updating you on the activities of the Planning and Zoning Commission and other local land use boards within the past year. As any casual observer of Channel 79, reader of the local newspaper, websites, or patron of the bowl would attest, these past 12 months have been extremely busy on many fronts. Commercial redevelopment, including the Whole Foods, affordable housing, including the approved redevelopment of Allen O'Neill, the management of the existing town facilities and resources such as the old library site, the expansion of community, quote, quality of life institutions such as the YMCA, to name a few. It is notable that these activities and projects all have redevelopment as a central theme. This should not come as a great surprise. However, since our town is fully developed, and much of our existing stock of commercial and retail space was put in place many years ago. A primary focus for our land use boards and principally planning and zoning, therefore, becomes how we capitalize on these redevelopment opportunities to add incremental value to our town, from which we all benefit while maintaining our residential character. No longer can we just wait for the next application to walk through the door. We must plan and think through how to optimize this incremental value. As detailed in our town plan of development, our objective is to preserve the character of our town. The demographic and economic forces generated by our immediate neighbors to our east and west cannot be taken lightly. I've spoken of these forces in past town addresses. You may have heard, for example, the term transit-oriented development. It's a concept that has achieved a certain vogue in recent times. It is important to recognize this concept for what it truly is: a strategy designed to increase residential density along transportation corridors to support employment centers like our neighbors. To be sure, many outside our town and some within our midst themselves view Darien as a housing opportunity, regardless of its effect on the character of our town and existing housing values. So where do we go from here to gain that value-added redevelopment without impacting our town's character? We look to the developments like 333 West Avenue, just north of Patton Drive. This was essentially the merging of multiple building lots into an 8-unit cluster development, keeping basically the same density currently in the neighborhood while creating additional open space and common area. This type of approach preserves scale and density while reducing the on-site development costs for the developer. We look to rezoning Norotan Heights, potentially a 20-acre site currently comprised of many older structures with no cohesive traffic planning, architecture, or user-friendly development. Try backing out of the Donut Inn on Heights Road. We have a critical drainage problem that needs to be fixed, the solution for which could involve a public-private partnership on portions of this site while creating value-added, upscale, mixed-use redevelopment. We have every reason to believe that redevelopment of this area can result in a more unified commercial zone, both comprehensively planned and coordinated. We look to Old Kings Highway South and David Genevieve's brand new office building under construction in place of the old one-story structure. Think, for example, of converting that vast parking lot behind 1020 Post Road into a town green someday. Moving all those parked cars into, yes, maybe a structured parking tucked into the thruway embankment behind newly redeveloped office buildings along Old Kings Highway South. We looked to 3-bedroom residential development on the Procaccini property. The two-bedroom development, has its place in our town, but try and put up your grown kids and their grandchildren in 2 bedrooms at Middlesex Commons. While P&Z approved 62 units on the Procaccini site in 2007, we are hopeful construction can begin in 2011. We look to continue working on the issue of affordable housing. The approval of the Garden Homes project earlier this year is an example of the private sector redeveloping an existing commercial property into affordable housing use with no incremental site or neighborhood impact, a win-win for all parties. We look to stimulate our business districts by encouraging retail development, new restaurants, pedestrian use, and access. Finally, I think we all need to take a bow as public servants. Rarely are we given validation for all the hours and due diligence we contribute to keeping our town what it is. I would like to cite recent statistics from the website Zillow.com, wherein the average year-over-year sale price of housing through September in Darien increased by 12.1%, compared to New Canaan at 0.4%, Westport 1%, Norwalk 3.8%, Stamford 3.8%, and Greenwich at a negative 1.6%. While one could argue statistics can be skewed by individual components of the averages, one cannot help but conclude that we must be doing something right. Thank you for the opportunity to address you this evening.